Hi, I'm Megan with Bethel Budgets, and I'm here because it is more than just math. Perhaps you've done a budget before. You've laid out your income, you've laid out your expenses, and you've thought, it's simple. I'll just stick to what's on the paper. But then life happens and it doesn't work out. The reason is because it's more than just math. That's where I come in. Let's figure this out together. Don't give up. You've got this. Today's video, we're doing another weekly paycheck closeout. So we've done our big monthly budget. We've got a whole big picture of every single dollar for our whole entire month. We know where everything's going. Then we've broken it down to our weekly spending plan. So we know where all of our money should go every single week that we get paid. Then the next step is to close out each week. And then you close out for the month and get a whole big picture of where you did end up at the end of the month. But you want to keep an eye on that week by week as you do your paychecks. So we've already done our paycheck one. We looked at exactly what we got paid in actuality versus what we planned. And we looked at what we spent in actuality versus what we planned. And one of three things are going to happen when you do this. One, you're going to have a perfect budget with beautiful numbers, and you're going to spend exactly what you plan to spend. This very rarely happens. But when it does, congratulations, it's beautiful. Two, you're going to underspend, and that is also nice when that happens, but it also indicates a problem because remember, we planned out the whole month and we planned out week by week. So this indicates a problem maybe with due dates. Maybe something didn't get paid when you planned for it to get paid. As you could see in the last video, I had a problem with due dates. I have to go back and look and see where did I go wrong with my due dates. And some of it was just because of where the bank things are pending because it's the weekend, and then, the bank updates and every dollar updates, and then the date that I'm making the video. So sometimes that's the case. And whenever you sit down to close out your budget, maybe things just aren't updated. So that could be the case too. But it's not just extra money. So you have to make a plan for you get down to the bottom of that week and you have some green dollars, some extra money floating around. You've got to know what to do with it. Where did it come from? And how is it going to be spent in the following week? Don't think that that's extra money. This is why we keep an eye on it so we don't spend it. Or the third thing is you might have overspent for that month. Maybe something came out early that you thought was coming out of the second paycheck and it came out of the first. Maybe you had a birthday party that you didn't plan on. That happened to me. So there are a couple things you can do in that case. Hopefully, you have a buffer. And if you don't, you can start saving for a buffer. I like to get a month ahead. I like all of my budgeters to get a month ahead. So you have a good size buffer, but also so that you can pay these bills out of whichever week you choose, and you don't have to pay them out of the paycheck that the due date is dictating that you pay it from. And we'll talk about that more in another video where I can really get into the explanation for that. But for now, we're going to do paycheck number 2. We're going to look at what we plan to spend versus what we actually spent and what we actually earned for paycheck number 2. We're going to get down to the bottom and see which one of those 3 categories we fall into. Let's dive in. So as you can see on the screen here, I have 2 things open. I have every dollar open on this side. This is my absolute favorite budgeting software. I've looked at a couple of others, and maybe I'll make a video about this some other time. But for now, you need to know that I like every dollar, and this is what I have all of my budgeters use because you have a plan for your money. You're making a plan ahead of time, and then we're going to follow up with how we did following that plan. There are some other really great ones, but you are actually just being told what you're spending your money on. It's tracking what you've done in the past. You're not developing a plan. You need to make a budget and stick to that, not just see what you're doing. So that's why I choose every dollar, and it's also very convenient for all of the people that I'm helping to use the same program. So I like every dollar, and that's what I'm choosing to use. And so that's what you'll see me using often. So this is every dollar. I have it open. It's connected to my bank software. So all of my transactions are coming through, and then I categorize them when they come through from my bank. And so I know exactly how to track them when I'm closing out my budget. Which brings me to the other side of the screen here. This is this is my budgeting Google sheet. You know, I'm a paper pencil girl. I like to do everything on my Remarkable 2, but in cases like this, where the math is a lot of math, I use Google Sheets because it just is faster and it's convenient. So this is our weekly closeout spreadsheet. And let me show you around a little bit. In this planned column, we have all of these numbers came from our original monthly budget. So you've done your monthly budget, you've got all of these numbers coming out of there. Okay. Your planned income will match your planned expenses. It's all coming out to zero all the time. Everything zero based monthly budget. And then we get to the zero based weekly budget. So these light purple columns are what we did in our weekly spending plan. So you do your monthly budget, zero based, then you break it down weekly for your weekly paychecks, or however many times you get paid. You're going to break that down and make sure that you have enough money coming in on that paycheck to cover the expenses that are coming out of that paycheck. So you fill that in, and you want to make sure that the number of the amount of income you have after you put all those expenses in come down to zero. So let me show you the weekly spending plan. When you do this, and you filled all of this in, by the time you get to the bottom of each week, that number should be zero every time. Every single time. You want a zero-based balance for your month. You want a zero-based budget for your weeks. Now, when we get to closing out the week, the paycheck, this is when you're going to fill in the medium purple categories. This is what I did last week for my paycheck. So my first paycheck are only a couple days apart. So I get paid on the 1st, and then on the 4th, when I get paid, I do this closeout. So I filled in all of the expenses in this medium purple category, and then this remaining column here, it automatically totaled as I went down. And then I got to the bottom, and what you're looking for is zero. But if you remember from my last video, I had a little extra here because my tithe says it was zero because of there's 3 days between my paychecks, and the way the weekend lied, the pending transactions didn't come through from the bank to my every dollar for the closeout. So I could have probably put 242 in there to save myself the headache of a rollover, but I wanted to show you how that works. So now we're going to get on to my week 2 closeout. This is a rollover number. This is what was left, remember, at the bottom of my week 1 because of my tithe and just the over and under spending in some other categories. So as I go and put these actual numbers in here, this will add to it. So I did get paid on the 4th, 2/4/2024. And if you come over here and look at every dollar, the amount was $2,400. So I can add that in. And you can see that this rollover number added to it. So this column right here where it says remaining is going to keep my rolling total of the balance that I have from this paycheck. So this is where I'm adding the actual numbers that I've spent compared to what I planned. This column here, this purple column, will show you the difference between what I budgeted and what I spent. Did I go over? Did I go under? So it's good to see that on each line item and in each category so that you can see patterns of behavior and you can see where things are going wrong, where things are going right. If this happens month after month where it's the same, like if you're green every time, month after month, maybe you're budgeting too much money. If you're red month after month, you need to budget more money for this category, or you are having a spending problem in this area and what's causing that. So that's why those differences are there. So you can see them. It's a good visual. So let's get into this. This spent one in our tithe category is going to be an immediate red because remember, it didn't go through the first week. So tithe over here in every dollar is 484.60. And I know I knew that would be red, but that carried over. I planned 0 in the savings for this month. Lump sum. Yeah, I don't transfer anything to my lump sums until the end of the month because I'm hoping that this 355 number will turn into a bigger number because I like to save money. Okay, water, sewer, trash. I planned 150, but I didn't spend any because this is not a month where we spend it. This is a month where we save it, I believe. Every other month, we have to pay this bill, and it's usually like 220, but I budget really, really high because we've gotten hit before. This is not one you can do budget billing on in our area. If we could do budget billing, I would. So that's what's going on there. So this would be an underspent, but it's also just going to sit there until next month. Like I'm not going to transfer that. I'm not going to count that as extra money to put into my lump sum because that's going to be just carried over for next month when that water sewer trash is actually due. That's how I handle those every other month bills. I used to do a transfer over to my savings, then a transfer back, but it was just too much to handle. It's just like a built-in buffer for me now. And cable internet, I planned 20 and it was $19.99. Let's see how we did in groceries. Okay, so here's how we're going to handle this. So this every dollar, this 847, this is the total for the whole month so far. Unfortunately, while I love every dollar, it's not great at reporting, which is why we do this. So, I'm going to take the 847.53 from the total for the month so far in every dollar, and I'm going to subtract this 138.87 from the last paycheck period to give me the total that I need to put in for this paycheck period, which is 708.66. So I'm under in this category so far for this month, which is awesome because I've been working really hard on this. We're doing the February challenge, and I realized I had been using Instacart like a madwoman and spending a fortune on groceries. So I'm really hoping I come in super under budget on groceries this month. So that is a really good sign. I'm very, very excited about that. Family dining out. We spent 0 last week, which I planned to spend 100, but this week we spent 152.29. So that looks like I'm way over. But if you think of this like an envelope system, that 100 just carried over. So I did overspend still by $52.29. But date night, I planned 0 and spent 0. Fellowship. Okay, so fellowship now has 54.52 for the month. So I need to take out the 29.52 from last week. And that gives me 25 to put in for this week. So I overspent by 25 for this week according to the spreadsheet. But really, if you remember me putting this in here from my last video, these operate as envelopes. So I am not worried about this because of the way I function with those. If I was doing a cash envelope system last week when I got paid, I would have gone and gotten $100 out of the bank and put it in a cash envelope. We don't really we used to do that. I used to have little paper clips that were labeled. They were super cute and I used to keep them in my really fancy wallet, but we don't operate that way anymore for a lot of reasons, and I can make another video about that, but it just carries over in our bank account and we monitor it this way and through every dollar. This was our solution to that. If I had the envelope and my husband wanted to go out to eat, it was no bueno because he would just swipe and I would have the cash and it was a mess. Now, if he or I can just look at this, we can see exactly how much we have in that envelope. Okay, gas. Let's scroll down, look at gas. Gas is $93.49 for the month so far. And I spent $56.32 last week. So that means I did $37.17 so far this week. Car wash. Okay, car wash. This one I'm not happy about. I spent $57 at the car wash this week. And it was a whole ordeal. I went to my favorite car wash and they were closed. And they told me I could go inside and wash the car myself. And I was like, I'm not doing that. So I had to go down the street and use a different car wash, and it was more expensive, like by $11. So I was not happy, but I was letting somebody use my car, and I really, I have 4 kids, so I had to clean it before I let them use it. So I was kind of stuck. Um, it was just, I got myself into a pickle and it's my own fault, but it was also funny that the poor guy at the car wash offered to open it up so that I could go in and wash my own car. Just that was hilarious. Not, no thanks. I will pay 10 extra dollars. Thank you very much. Okay, back to business. My phone bill. Okay. My phone bill. I planned to spend $69. I spent $68.31. And shopping. Okay, yep. This is another one I'm not happy about, and it's my own fault. Usually, when we mess up the budget, I'm usually yelling at my husband about this because it's usually him. He's the shopper. This one's all my fault. And I'm going to admit it right here on Facebook so my poor husband can see and have it written in an eternity that I messed up the budget and it was all my fault. Okay. For the month so far total, I have spent, not we, $183.78. Minus last week when I told you guys, yeah, we're not spending any more money. I did. Okay, so I spent another $43.21. So, if you can look over here in every dollar, 150 is our shopping budget, and I've spent $183.78. And I went back and looked at this category because this is something that we have to talk about in our budget meeting, and it's usually something that I'm talking to or complaining to my husband about. But I bought a few things for my desk because I've started making videos and like I have a glass desktop and it was glaring, and so I bought that, and I guess it was just more than I thought. And then I bought nail polish and I just overdid it, and that's my bad. So now I'm gonna have to figure out where that money's gonna come from. We all do it. I'm not any better than anybody else. I just like to I just like to nerd out about it, and so that's why I'm here. Okay. Um, but I've identified the behavior and I'm going to come up with a plan and I'm going to move on. I'm going to move forward. I'm not going to beat myself up about it. We're just going to keep going. Birthdays. Okay. So the total, this is another category we overspent in, $117.79. In minus the 75 we spent last time. So we overspent by $42.79. And I looked at this before I started making this video because I knew that I went in on this side. I went in with my sisters on a gift, so I knew 2/3 of that was coming back. But I have 4 kids, and I think all of them got invited to a birthday party, and I had a baby shower. So I need to sit, and I'll talk to my husband too, and think maybe we need to up this category. Maybe $100 doesn't cut it for 4 kids. Um, and maybe we need to have more like $150 in this fund every month just in case. That's just something to think about. I don't know that that's ever happened, so maybe we just let it go and just make up the difference this month. This is why I'm so thankful I don't do this budgeting alone. I have my husband to talk to, even if I'm the one that messed up this month, and my budget babes. I can take this to them. And this is an example, how do you guys do your birthdays? And we can talk about that. These birthdays, these are not my kids' birthdays, my own children. We have a sinking fund for each of them that I save up for all year. These are strictly birthday parties they get invited to, uh, not their own. Okay, moving on to the next topic, childcare. Nothing, pet care. That was that 120 that was supposed to come out on the 2nd of the month, and it still has not come out, and it is the 15th. So I need to call them. I'm really kind of worried about that now. Entertainment. So we are at 58.46 now, minus the 38.48 over here from last time. So here's the 58.46 from this time, minus the 38.48 from the first of the month paycheck. So that's 1998 this week. It looks like we're under budget, but there's still a couple of more bills to be paid out of that. I don't like how that is going. If we're going to do this weekly closeout, I'm going to need to spread out these due dates across where they actually go. That's getting a little confusing. Nothing for anything else in that category. Gym didn't come out yet, which it was supposed to. So that's a little confusing. Supplements, nothing else so far. Okay, nothing for doctor bills or counseling. Let's go down. No medical debt digging, house payment, none of that. Okay. Spouse 962. So we're at 962 now. And last week we were at 463. So let's see what the difference. He's doing so good. He's usually the spender. We totally traded places this month. I'm shocked. And he bought me flowers for Valentine's Day. They're right there behind my shoulder. He bought me flowers for Valentine's Day. And when he brought them to me, he said he even considered which fund this was going to come out of. And then he went grocery shopping this week and he brought me the receipt. It's like, I'm just so excited. He's doing so good. I hope he watches this video so he can see how excited I am about his progress. I don't think he'll feel bad. I think he'll laugh when he sees this. I'm not actually treating my husband like a child. This is something we joke about all the time. But now I was talking while mathing and I messed it up. So 962 minus 463. Okay, so he sent $4.99 this week. I'm really proud of him. He is a spender, and I took over that category this week, and he has been doing amazing this month. I took over that category this month, and he has been doing amazing. I can't wait to see him and tell him what a good job he's done. Okay. Next is child. So we did all of our income for the kids. We do that on the second Saturday of the month. That one's easy because I control paying that bill. All right. So I was a little worried, but I wonder how we came up with extra money in this category. Oh, because so many of our things didn't get back through. Oh, yeah, we had extra groceries. We had extra from gas, kind of, sort of. Okay. So we have $923.22 to roll over. So that is not extra money that I have by any means. As you can see, I have still overspent in a couple categories, which will come back to bite me when we do our monthly closeout. I'm a little worried about that. Like I'm going to have to figure out where did the spending or shopping. So I overspent total on the shopping. You can see that here. This is not going to be good for me when the month closes out. So I am not counting this as extra money. There's no way that I'm counting this as extra money. I'm not spending a dime, not until I finish the last closeout, because my husband still has to spend his money. We still have to make our extra house payment, which I didn't do this week, which I did have scheduled. So I need to go and do that. So there's 140 of it. Let's figure some of this out. 9, 23, 22. So if I take out the extra house payment that I didn't pay, the supplements that I know are going to come out at some point, but they just haven't yet, the gym payment that hasn't come out that I know is going to come out. So see, all of these, this 900 and whatever it was dollars is planned. I can't just go spend it. I can't think that it's extra money. Nobody's gotten their haircuts yet. And shopping, we already know we blew. Birthdays, we overspent too. So gas, we typically don't spend that much, but I'm not counting on it yet. So we haven't spent anything in date night out yet, but I know we're going to go on a date, so I'm not counting that. So that would be another 200. So see, oh, and the water, sewer, trash is already accounted for. So I just did a quick search and all but $81.22 is still accounted for the next rollover. So I'm not spending a penny. I'm not making any plans. I'm hoping I would love to have a big rollover like that in the third paycheck week because then I could put a whole bunch extra into savings. So at the end of this paycheck week, this number is now rolling over to this third paycheck week. So when the first rolls around, I'm going to come close out this 15th of the month paycheck. And hopefully, all of these other things will have come out by then. And I'll have a really good picture of how I did with this. So when I get to the end of the month, then I can balance out my transfers versus my lump sum sinking funds and see how much extra money I can apply, because then I will have hopefully filled out all of the rest of these categories. So I hope that is helpful to see. I know that the second week paycheck closeout is a little bit more confusing because you have a little bit of a rollover from the first week, and then we have a little bit of rollover into the next week as well. But as you can see, those rollovers, you've got to think of them like the envelope system. If you have a green number at the bottom with extra money, that's like a cash envelope. So if I didn't spend all of my money in my grocery category and I had a cash envelope, on the first of the month, I would have pulled my $50 and I would have had that in my grocery envelope. Had I not spent it, it would have physically be money that I'd still be carrying over to the next week. I just don't happen to carry around a cash envelope anymore. I have it in my bank account and I just track it right here on my Google spreadsheet. Same thing with my gas money, same thing with my dining out. What would have been envelopes are now still in my account. They're just being tracked this way. But for my husband and I, this is how it works best for us. Um, that way, if one of us is out and the other has the envelope, we're not going to swipe and then mess up our budget. So if you think of these things as cash envelopes, but track them on your Google Sheet and you do the weekly paycheck closeout, you'll be fine. So you've got your big monthly budget that's zero based, your weekly spending that's zero based, and then you close out every single week. You've got a great eye on your plan, you've got a great eye on your spending, and then you can track your behaviors along the way and you can come up with a plan for whatever happens. All of those, it's more than just math moments, you can make a plan for. Don't give up. We can do this together. You've got this.